Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today, I'm very excited about my interview with Robert Kiyosaki. Robert is the author of the #1 best-selling personal finance book of all time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's an active real estate investor with thousands of properties nationwide, and he's the inventor of the board game cash flow. Today, we're going to be talking about how the rich leverage real estate to pay almost zero in taxes, some of the biggest opportunities that he sees coming. He says, in fact, some of the greatest opportunities in history come during economic depressions and recessions, and that the future is bright for those of us that are prepared. And he's going to share his 3 favorite investments for building a bulletproof portfolio for the coming years.
Don't forget this thing here.
And wait, did he just pull out his gun?
I don't think you heard a word I said.
Say that again.
You didn't hear a word I said.
If you have any questions, leave them in the box down below. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for future episodes. All right, we are live here in the Real Closers Facebook group with the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Kiyosaki. Thank you so much for coming by. Couldn't be more happy to have you on to talk all things real estate and get your thoughts on everything. First of all, I got to ask you though, I love your glasses, and I want to know what kind of glasses those are, because I've seen the blue glasses in lots of different videos, and I want to know more.
I hate to tell you this. I don't know whose glasses they are. I just bought them. And I'll just tell you how I shop, because I have no taste. I was in Singapore, and I walk into the store. There's a really hot, young sales girl. So it was a chance to get to talk to her. So I said, what would look good on me? And she put these on, and I said, you got to be kidding me. And that's how I bought them.
Well, there you go. You got sold.
They look
good.
All my taste is in my mouth, as they say. But I get more compliments from them, so it worked.
Well, you've obviously written, 28 plus books, the #1 personal finance book of all time. You're an active real estate investor. And I think what I appreciate the most is that you are a passionate entrepreneur, and you're passionate about kind of teaching the entrepreneur community, which I think is in need of some really nice, strong leadership. So thank you for all that you do in that space. And starting with kind of the cash flow quadrant, that was my venture down the Rich Dad, Poor Dad road. I read that book right out of college, and it just really gave like a clear perspective on where you're at now on it, where you want to go, and kind of just allowed me to put a plan in place to kind of go down the ladder, so to speak, or up the ladder. And then also, I've always loved your take on real estate in terms of invest for cash flow. Your home is not an asset, things like that can be considered controversial. And the way that you talk about real estate like Monopoly, where the goal is to get 4 green ones and then upgrade to a red one. But I just want to kind of start with big picture. How do you look at real estate in terms of building wealth?
Well, first of all, thank you. And I think that makes me the happiest is 1997, I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And talk about getting dumped on, like I submitted it to all the elite academic types in New York City at the editors, publishers, and they said, you don't know what you're talking about. And those are the elites today. And they come from academia, they go to the best schools, they're very smart, they're the A students. And I'm a C student. I was a class dummy. I went to great school. But no matter how hard I tried, I was a C student, John. I never did well academically. Well, a long way of saying what makes me happy is young guys like you come up, and they said the book kind of gave me a direction in my life. And that's what is the joy of my work, is talking to young guys like you who, choose a different path and go to school, get a job, get a job in New York City, which is crime city now. Save money and invest in the stock market. I don't have a 401k. I never wanted a 401k. I retired in less than 10 years on real estate. And why would I be in the stock market? which is, and I've taken companies public. I've taken 3 companies public through IPOs, and I would never do that again. I mean, that Wall Street, talk about a den of thieves. Wall Street is just criminal city, and I really don't like it. Now, Wall Street is perfect for the corporate types. Like, I have friends who are really I'm a corporate animal. And I'm going, well, you are an animal, but I worked for Xerox, and I was not a corporate guy. I was an entrepreneur. Does that make sense to you? I just did not. There were guys who just love the ass kissing of corporate world. I hated it. I mean, I hope it's okay if I say ass kissing, but that's what it is. I just couldn't ass kiss my way up the corporate ladder. So I knew I was screwed. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's good to know what you're good at and what you're not.
Yeah, and that's why I never liked the stock market, because I kind of know the ass kissing that goes on inside there, and I just don't want to play that game. I've taken 3 companies public, so it's not that I don't know, but it's a long way of saying I love real estate. That's good and bad to that also, because, if you get emotionally attached to real estate, you buy some really bad property.
Yeah.
And, I'll drive into a town, the town could be dying, and I want to buy the whole town because it's cheap. And I want to save the town, but the industry's gone.
Right.
And real estate has got to have people, otherwise it's not worth anything. So I've gotten into a lot of trouble because I love real estate. And that's what makes me a real estate guy. So if you don't love real estate, don't invest in it. You love stock, you like kissing butt, stock market. That's that simple. And if you like bonds, have a good time. I just don't understand, how come you're not in the bond market? Well, you got to have money to be in the bond market. I never had any money. So the other thing I love about real estate, besides loving it, it's debt. It's either debt or equity. It's 2 things. So I love debt. And, debt is tax-free money. That's another reason I like real estate. I borrow, I think I'm about $500 million in debt today. And I'm proud of it. Now, it's all cash flowing debt, which is good. I could be dying also. Thank God I'm not in retail. Thank God I'm not in CMBSs, collateralized mortgage-backed securities, and all that stuff. I'm in apartment houses, and as long as it keeps sending that PPP money out, I'm okay.
We'll see how that goes.
But I love real estate. It's debt, and I pay no taxes. And I think that's what most people don't get. They want to flip property. Why would you flip a good property? You're going to pay tax. You're going to pay short-term capital gains. So I just have a different philosophy. I love real estate. I love debt, and I hate paying taxes. What else do you want?
Yeah, I want to actually talk about that philosophy a little bit more, because I think there's a lot there, and I hear you say a lot that millionaires, they don't pay taxes, right? The rich make millions and pay virtually 0 in taxes. And I also hear you talk all the time about how all the tax advantages of real estate. Tell me a little bit more about how the rich are leveraging real estate to keep their taxes as close to 0 as possible.
Well, it's found in the tax law. My friend, he's my personal tax advisor, Tom Wheelwright. He wrote the book Tax Free Wealth. If you want a book on capitalism, if you really, really want to be a capitalist, and this is true throughout the world, the book is called Tax Free Wealth, because taxes are only paid by the poor and middle class. And one of the only escapes out of taxes is either entrepreneurship or real estate. So, like just in America, we have the 1031 tax deferred exchange. They used to have that for stocks. It's like before I could buy Amazon, I could sell it and then buy Apple, let's say, do something like that.
Right.
But you can't do that. I mean, you can do it if you trade inside a fund and all the other stuff, but I don't like funds. So it's just a 1031. Why would you invest in stocks? I don't understand it.
Preaching to the choir on that. Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. I mean, the tax advantages are huge. They're all over the place, from depreciation to write-offs to all the different things.
That's called amortization, depreciation, appreciation. They're all tax-free.
Yep, exactly. And you did write a fantastic book on that, your real estate book that you put out. So for anybody that wants to go real deep on that, definitely check that out.
But it really is Tax Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. That is the key, because this is true all over the world. So we've been in the Ukraine together, we've been in Russia together, and the real estate guys that know come up and say, yes, it's the same here in Russia, it's the same here in Japan. But it's the academic elites. Oh, you can't do that here in Japan. You can't do this here in Ukraine.
Right.
But the rich can. So the book is tax-free wealth. Just read it, and you'll understand. It's not just about real estate. It's how the game is played by capitalists. I'm not a Marxist. Most of these guys are Marxists. Most academics are Marxists. They don't know it. But, they wear Mao suits, and they salute the Chinese flag. And they're all raised in Hawaii. That's where Obama's from. Or was it Kenya? I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
I don't really care either way. Okay.
So another thing that you talk about a lot is in terms of like real estate and shielding income and all of that, is you always talk about how you take profits from your businesses and you put them into real estate. Are you doing that before or after the income is taxed? Are you doing that through the company or entities, or are you doing that on a personal level?
Well, it's simultaneous. Everything's going simultaneously, but you have to have an overall plan. That's why if you look at the financial statement, income, expense, asset, liabilities, is as I see profits coming into, let's say, one of my businesses, let's say the Rich Dad company, and I realize I'm going to be taking about $1 million profit. If I pull that profit, I'm taxed on it. So what I do is Ken McElroy, who wrote the book, The ABCs of Real Estate, because what happened is my income went up, the deals had to get bigger. You know what I'm talking about? As long as I was only making about $1 million a year, I could handle the real estate. But when the income started to go into tens of millions a year, I couldn't handle the real estate. So that's why I have a partner in Ken McElroy. He wrote the book, ABCs of Real Estate, Advanced Guide to Real Estate and all this. That's why Tom kicks in. As long as you're small, you can do it yourself, but I can't anymore. So let's say I know I'll be taking $1 million in profit next year. Well, I don't want to pay tax on that. So I'll call Ken McElroy and I'll see that I need a $5 million profit. So I have 1 million, I need 5 million. So he'll take my million and put it into a $5 million profit. Let's keep the math simple.
Right, okay.
From that $5 million property, I depreciate, amortize, appreciate it, and I pay no tax in the system. With the free money, tax-free money, I buy gold, silver, Bitcoin. I've been doing this since 1973. I have millions of ounces in gold, millions of ounces in silver, and Bitcoin stored overseas.
I like that. I want to get into all those, the actual how you're doing it. So you're saying the $1 million in profit, that's in one of your entities.
No, let's say it's coming off Rich Dad to keep it simple.
Okay, yep.
So my book, what's my biggest asset is IP, intellectual property. Like this book here, Who Stole My Pension, just came out 2020. It's in 50 languages throughout the world. I collect royalties. Right. So I forecast out a year in advance. I say, okay, my royalty should be this much. And let's say it's going to come out $1 million. If I take the $1 million, I pay tax on it. So at that point, I'm calling Kenny and I said, Kenny, I need a $5 million property. Got it. And from that $5 million property, I get cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, amortization. It's all tax-free money. But you can do it any way you want, but that's my plan.
I'm just curious, the Robert Kiyosaki formula, if you will, on, so is the entity then buying the real estate? Like
you're going into another category. That's my attorney, Tom Garrett Sutton. Okay. When I said I'm a C student, I'm serious about that. I was a dumb shit in school. So I always sat next to the smartest girl generally. But in school, that's called cheating. In school, in real life, it's called cooperation. So C stands for capitalist who cooperates. But the elites, the ones who turned my book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, down living in New York City, who are now unemployed and getting mugged on the streets, those guys have to be the smartest people. So they turn to a financial planner who tells them to put it in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs.
Right.
If that's what you want to do, fine. But why would I do that when I can make more money as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. maybe I'm missing something here, but I just want to go one more time on that last example. That
Sure.
the $1 million profit. If you took that $1 million profit to you, Robert, that's the taxable event. How are you spinning that into the real estate without paying taxes on it, legally and ethically?
Yeah, well, I buy a piece of property and then all of my appreciation. You got to read that book. It's called Tax-Free Fucking Wealth.
I'm on it. Tax-free wealth.
I just don't understand why people don't read that book. Or my partner, other advisor, Garrett Sutton, and it's called Own Your Own Corporation and all that. It's, you see like the cash flow quadrant, ESB and the I. Most people who went to school think like employees and self-employed people. That's why they're poor. You should never go to school if you want to be rich, because you got to be taught by idiots like my poor dad. Poor people. PhD. My dad was a PhD. PhD stands for poor, helpless, desperate. If you understand that, that's what we're teaching our kids. That's why we have so much poverty in America today. They went to school. Yeah. They became A students.
We definitely do need more creative thinking. We definitely need more entrepreneurs, and we definitely need more people out there making.
No, you shouldn't go to school. I'm trying to tell you something. Because school will teach you scarcity. School is based on Malthusian economics. Thomas Malthus was an English cleric. He wasn't an economist. And what he teaches, and it's all through our academic system, is economics is the allocation of scarce resources. There's no scarce resources. What it does is it programs into your brain to think scarcity. Entrepreneurs don't think in scarcity. Entrepreneurs are always thinking in abundance. So the people like my whole family, they all think about, there's not enough money, there's not enough time, I can't do this, I can't do that. But they're all A students. Their brain is polluted. And that's what's happening in schools today. Look at all the kids who are sitting there on their Zoom calls. They're saying, my friends get to say, I'm wasting my time. Okay, so that's what's happening. I'm not saying school is bad, but you got to watch who your teacher is. That's really the most important thing. That was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. And so thank God I learned about taxes. I learned about real estate. It has nothing to do with real estate. Banks will lend me all I want on real estate.
More good.
Why would they lend me all I want on ETF? No. And then I get tax breaks.
Yeah.
And when I asked my brothers and sisters, I said, how long is it going to take you to earn $1 million? Well, we can't do it. So how long will it take you to borrow $1 million? We don't know how to do that. You see, it's much faster to borrow $1 million tax-free than to work for $1 million. That's the difference. And then as long as I invested into a property that cash flows, so the money goes into the asset, comes out of that liability on the balance sheet. It goes from the liability column into the asset column. It produces cash flow. The cash flow bypasses taxes. So it's tax-free money all the way around. I borrow tax-free and I put it in my pocket tax-free. That's what real estate's about.
So I want to switch gears a little bit into what some might consider a scary topic. I've heard you talk about that there could be a global depression coming, and that you have some very serious concerns about the economy and things like that. And I think that sounds really scary when you hear it like that. But I also hear you say that you're not pessimistic and that you're optimistic about it, and that the future is very bright for those who are ready. So let's talk about that. Tell me what you mean by that.
I had to work for my rich dad for free. And it drove my poor dad, he was 9 years old, this is in Hawaii, drove my poor dad crazy. And so only people are afraid of a coming depression are people who need jobs. If you don't need a job, it's a great time. To understand, I'm really doing my best to say something to people. Going to school messes your brain up. And if you hang out with poor people, like academic types in my family, good people, don't get me wrong, honest, hardworking, God-fearing, all that other stuff, but they need that job. They need the paycheck. So the only people who are afraid of a depression are people who need jobs.
That's a really powerful thought.
Yeah, I don't need a job. I haven't needed a job since I was 9 years old. So it's inside, the gap between this year and this year. You go, okay, if there's no jobs, I didn't need a job. I could make money anyway. It took a while. It took me about 20 years to be a pretty good entrepreneur. I've had a lot of failures in between and all that, which is another thing about school. They tell you don't make mistakes. Well, how does a baby learn to walk? A baby doesn't fall down. So when I talk to these academic types, they're just terrified of losing their tenure, their jobs, their pension. Again, let me show you my latest book here. It's called Who Stole My Pension? Came out in January 2020. Pensions are bankrupt. You know whose pensions are going to take? School teachers, firefighters, police officers. They're toast. They're scared stiff right now. Yeah. And so if you don't need a job, it doesn't affect you. Okay.
So then let's talk about the opportunity there, right? So if that does come to fruition the way you're talking about it, how can we be preparing as real estate agents for what's coming and how to take advantage of the situation and kind of grow as opposed to contract?
Well, just remember this, that every depression, new businesses were started, people became mega millionaires. One of my teachers, he was my father's generation, and he was in New York City working on Wall Street because he was apprenticing. And when the markets crashed, he saw all of these shares on the floor. So he was sweeping the floor. He looked at all these shares. And he says, oh my God, people were just throwing them. This is the paper days. So he picked them all up. It was called the Benguet mine in the Philippines. So at 19, he was a multimillionaire.
Wow.
I hang out with these guys, and they don't have the same job security. I got kids to feed. They just have a different attitude towards it. So he says they were throwing all these papers in there, and he was sweeping it. And it was called the Benguet mine. It's one of the biggest gold mines in Southeast Asia.
As the market does transition, I'm curious to know where you see the biggest opportunities that are going to be coming up.
Silver. Silver is about to make the biggest move of all. I've been telling people to buy silver since it was $1.85 an ounce. Wow. Today it's hitting 25. It's still 40% below all-time market high. It was at one time $49. Today it's about $28, $25. So it's still about 50% all-time high. Gold's already passed its all-time high of 1911. Gold today is about $20, 2030. Bitcoin could be the biggest runner of all. You see, what's failing, Oliver, is the dollar's failing. The dollar is crashing right now. And it's because of the corruption inside the Fed and the Treasury.
So is that why you're so bullish on things like silver and gold? Because I think a lot of people hear silver and gold and it just sounds old school, like what am I, a pirate? You know what I mean? Like they don't understand how to buy and sell gold, how to store gold, things like that. So how do you even go about playing that game?
Well, it's not about playing, it's about being smarter than the idiots who teach school. I'm serious. School teachers are fucked up. They're the most screwed up people. I grew up in them. They're good people, but they're poor. They're poor people. At the soul, they're poor. So I wrote this book here. It's called Fake. It's fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. And if you read this book here, Who Stole My Pension, it's saying basically the same thing. This is my friend here, James Records, who wrote this. Gold and silver are not old school. Gold and silver are God's money. Gold and silver were here when the earth was formed. It became money about 5,000 years ago, gold and silver. And today, Bitcoin is what I call people's money. And so the people that, if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Rich Dad's lesson number one is rich don't work for money. The rich also don't save money. Because of this. And you look at the interest rates on the US dollar today, I think you take out a T-bill, well, they'll give you 8%. Never happened. And our pensions have got to make 8% or they go broke. So what T-bills are paying today is about 0.7%, and it'll probably go to -2. So the savers, people who are saving cash, are going to be the biggest losers on earth. But they went to school. You're supposed to save money. Save till it hurts. They also say get out of debt. When what happened in 1971 with Nixon, the dollar became debt. So that's why I came back from Vietnam in 73 and I said, I'd better start using debt. That's why I invest in real estate. Debt is free money, tax-free money. But every time I talk to these academic types, these financial planners, they're like Dave Ramsey, get out of debt. I want as much debt as I can get my hands on. And what will the banker lend me money on? Real estate.
Yeah.
That's why I'm $500 million in debt. And they're held in different LLCs and things like this. So if they crash, the bank gets it back. So that's why you have to have an accountant, attorney, bookkeepers, and a brain. One last thing is what Rickard says here, and he was with, I don't know if you heard of LTCM, Long-Term Capital Management. It was the hedge fund that took down the Russian ruble, nearly brought down the world. What he talks about here in 1973, the business schools took gold out of the curriculum. The business schools of America took gold out of the curriculum. And the reason for that, so they could get highly educated people to accept the dollar and stocks and bonds. But I'm a real estate guy. I like debt. I don't like stocks, bonds, mutual funds. If you do, that's fine. I just don't like it. But I like tangible. I love gold, silver. This is my asset. I sell about 10,000 a month all over the world. I collect my royalties. I buy real estate. I use debt. And then I use gold. I buy gold and silver and Bitcoin. But I'm not saying that's the formula. Everybody has to find their formula.
Right.
I just love real estate because debt and taxes.
In a Robert Kiyosaki well-balanced portfolio between the stuff we've just talked about, real estate, gold, silver, Bitcoin, maybe other cryptocurrencies, what does that mix look like? Are you like 90% real estate, 10 everything else, or is it different than that?
I have no idea. Don't forget this thing here.
Damn!
It's called look, I'm a U.S. Marine,
Yeah. And you just pulled out your pistol.
Well, that's because it's called the 5 Gs. Okay, number one is gold. Now, you've got to have gold and silver and Bitcoin. Number two, you've got to have ground, real estate, something that retains its value, hopefully. Number three is gasoline. I invest in gasoline not because I like gasoline, but I get tax breaks. If I invest $1 million in gasoline, I get a 70% tax break day one. You can't get that kind of return in mutual funds. Okay. And number four is grub. You got to have food. And the 5 G. You got the basis for proper survival.
There you go. The 5 Gs of proper survival right there.
Hey, I think we're going to revolution pretty quickly. This Antifa and Black Lives Matter, which is Marxist, they're well organized. It's what's going on in Portland and Chicago and New York and LA right now, and Seattle. Question is, will it spread? I think that's the question we've all got to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
So when I talked to my friend who's head of the police here, he says there are cells all over Phoenix. All they need is that social, the cell phone call from their friends, and they're in action. They tore apart Scottsdale Fashion Plaza. They just ripped it to shreds.
Crazy.
It didn't take them long to get there. Last night in Chicago, they attacked. There was the Miracle Mile, and they just attacked it. So we're living in very, very strange times, and it's the 5Gs: gold,
5Gs
brown, gasoline, grub, guns.
There you go. I like it. Since we kind of did venture into a little political talk. I know I had a Facebook question come through from Noelle, so shout out Noelle. She asked, you being kind of a Trump supporter or longtime Trump friend, and you guys have written books together, all of that. How has that affected business for you, and if it has?
Well, I get attacked just like anybody else. It doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you the thing that's funny, Oliver. My family hates me. I hate to say that they're all my female cousins. They say this book here, I may as well be standing with Adolf Hitler. But the difference is, he's my friend. I know him. I've worked with him for 8 years. His 2 sons and I are really good friends. They're a class act. They're a very good family. Very, very good family. Very respectful. My wife loves them. They're really good people, but the press portrays them a certain way. So I'm not political. I would vote for him if he was a Democrat. It's not political. I vote for the person. But the people who don't know him just take what other people say about him. So like my female cousins, they hate me because I know Trump. I said, hate is a big word. You don't even know the guy. Now you hate me. I know the guy. I just watch what he does, and he says stupid things. We all say stupid things. But look at what he's doing. You compare Donald Trump with Joe Biden's son. Joe Biden's son's a criminal. He was taking all that money out of the Ukraine and China. Chelsea Clinton ran the Clinton Foundation, which had to be shut down. So you look at the prodigy of the people. So I look at my friends' kids. Most of their kids are great kids. But if the parents are screwed up, most times the kids are screwed up. So I look at Hunter Biden and Chelsea Clinton. They're just like mommy and daddy. So that's what you judge it on. And so I know, I have Eric Trump was on the Rich Dad Radio show a few weeks ago. You should listen to it. It's called Rich Dad Radio. Listen to Eric Trump. And those guys were raised as entrepreneurs. And I knew these guys long before. Donald and I were supposed to write a book in 2015 or 2016. And Donald announced on my little Rich Dad Radio show, it's not a very big show, he just said, I'm going to run for president. So that was like, wow. But my poor dad also ran for lieutenant governor of the state of Hawaii. It's a dirty business. I would never run for office. And my father was a Democrat, but he had to run as a Republican. The reason he ran as a Republican because the Democrats in Hawaii are so corrupt. They still corrupt. And so my dad quit, and he says, I'm going to run as a Republican. He got killed. And my mother died 3 months later. It broke our heart. It's a dirty business. Yeah. So if you're judging Trump by what the media says, then you're an idiot. I speak from what I know of the guy, from working with him for 8 years. His sons and I have spent days on these deserted beaches, no water, no toilets, nothing, eating fish. They're great kids. They're just great young men. Now they're growing to great young men. But you watch what they do versus what Hunter Biden does and Chelsea Clinton does, then you make your decision.
Yeah, it's actually kind of alarming at how hard people get shredded when they run for office, and it almost makes you feel like there's probably a lot of really good people with a lot of really good ideas that are out there that you just would never even consider running because they know what would happen if they did.
Especially today with this, I call it antisocial social media. I got nailed for being a racist. I said, look, how can I be a racist? I'm not white. They didn't think that was too funny, so I got attacked even harder. We've lost our sense of humor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of comedians who wouldn't make it today.
Yeah, everything's canceled now.
Yeah. And so our freedom of speech is gone. First Amendment. First Amendment is the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly is gone. And the Sixth Amendment is gone. The Sixth Amendment is your right to face your accuser. Today, all of these faceless people attack you, the trolls on the internet. They just come after you. That's the world we live in today. So that's not capitalism. That's not a democracy. It's fascism, where you live in fear. And the more fear we have, the less freedom we have. So I'm not against anybody. I just would like to have my freedom and not live in fear.
Amen to that. I think we can all agree on that, hopefully.
I'm not saying Trump is the best guy. You can vote for what you want to vote for. I'm just telling you, why would you hate me when you don't even know the guy? You know what I mean?
Each their own. That's how I feel about it. I want to kind of come back to real estate and how another quote. Yeah, we'll get off the Trump talk. And I've heard another thing that you've said is with the right financial education, this crash could be the best thing to ever happen to you.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious where you see the big opportunities in the real estate market specifically for all of us to be looking at, thinking about, taking advantage of, kind of moving towards.
That's a great question, because the beauty of real estate is micro. Do you know what I mean? It's local. So if I live in XYZ Street, the 5 blocks around me, that's my territory, it's my turf. Whereas if I'm investing in an ETF or something, that's global. So there's macro and there's micro. So the beauty about being in real estate, you could live in, I have friends who live in Oakland, they're black guys. And this real comedian says, his niche is, I go where white men fear to tread. So he says, I can collect rent where you guys can't. So I just crack up. Now I'm going to get attacked for that one. But do you know what I mean? He says, you can't go into my neighborhoods. He's telling me this 15 years ago. And you think about it, you go, that's right. So the beauty of real estate is you can be the king of 5 blocks, micro. And you can know everything about that 5 blocks. Whereas stocks, it's global. Like Amazon is a global stock. I should have bought Amazon. I don't like stocks. But anyway, that's what I mean. But I love real estate because I love real estate primarily. And I like my tenants. I don't want to screw them. I don't care what color they are, what religion they are. I would hate to evict them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a relationship you have. And that's what I love about real estate. It is just a personal game.
Yeah. I hear you talk a lot about multifamily. Is that kind of your bread and butter on where you're investing? I've also heard you say that your favorite niche is senior housing. So I'm just curious.
No. Everything is micro and macro.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to get trolled for this one too. So when I started doing real estate, I like single family rental units, but I couldn't find enough. So then I went to apartment houses, and I had to do my market research on that. You go through your learning curve, you make mistakes and all this stuff. And then my friend was he moved to Arizona, and he said, I think trailer parks are the next business. So I said, I'd never looked at trailer parks. So he and I, we go to seminars and things like that. We find out about the trailer park business. It was called Deals on Wheels, guy Lonnie Scruggs, I just find the guys who are doing it. And I learned more going through trailer parks than I did about socioeconomic life, because, I'm going through, I hate this I'm going to get, they call it white trash. It's white trash. Mm-hmm. Trailer trash. So I'm going through white trailer trash in Phoenix. And it wasn't white, it was all different nationalities. So I'm going through this whole thing. This is 10, 15 years ago. And I noticed something. The guys living in the trailers, they were renting the trailers from the guy that owned the trailer park. But they drove brand new Ram pickups. And I was going, holy mackerel. You know what I mean? They could be doing the same thing you and I are doing, except their debt is going to that Ram pickup. And I was jealous, because I had an old Ford pickup. But I'd rather drive an old Ford pickup and buy the trailer park than the Ram pickup. So I realized what happens to so many people. It's like, hey, come down here, trade your old clunker in, and we'll give you a brand new Dodge or a Ford or a Chevy pickup, and nothing down, easy monthly payments. Boom. So I learned more going through trailer parks about people because I got to meet real people. I knock on the doors, talk. They're good people. They're really, really good. But the easy credit for the pickup or the Chevy or the Mazda, whatever it is. And they're always in debt. Always in debt. But I'm in debt too, but I'd rather own the trailer park.
And that comes back to, your philosophy of retraining your schooling and retraining your brain to just look at things that.
That's your value system. That guy was saying, well, I can't afford to do what you do. I said, well, that's why you can't afford it, because you're not really religious, but that was from what the word becomes flesh. Whatever you say, I can't afford it, I can't do it, then you can't. And I've been broke so many times that if I said that, I wouldn't be here today. I had to stand back up, dust myself off, all the mistakes I've made, all the failures. And when I met my wife, I was $850,000 in debt. So they think she married me for my money. We didn't have any money, but we came out of it.
It was your stunning good looks.
Huh?
I said it was your stunning good looks.
I think I said that to her once. She says, "You got to be kidding me." But you see my wife, she's stunningly beautiful. She is stunningly beautiful. But I don't know why, my friends keep saying, "What is she doing with you?" I said, "Don't say anything." We all have our doubts, we all have our fears, we all have our hopes, we all have our dreams. We all fall down, we all hopefully stand up again. And I think that's life.
Yeah, for sure. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like what you're saying is that there's not necessarily a type of deal you're looking for. You're really focusing on your market that you know and you understand, and then whatever types of deals come along within that market, as long as it makes sense and it cash flows and it can check all your boxes.
You've got to target a category. You see, right now we're into senior housing. Why am I into senior housing? Because I'm looking for my next place of residence. You look at it here, the baby boom generation that's in America, there's 75 million of them, if COVID doesn't get them. But they're all moving into senior housing. So 20 years ago, my wife and I bought a fitness club on 6 acres, and we got it for nothing down, and it cash flowed $50K a month into our pockets.
Wow.
And we fully, this is because the market had crashed. I love crashes. But the market had crashed, we buy this property, it fully amortized, and we set up on an amortization scale. Remember, depreciation, amortization, appreciation. So we set up on an amortization scale. We component depreciated it, and it appreciated. So it paid itself off, and then we just signed a contract for $100 million on the property for a 100-year lease.
Wow.
And
I like that. That's an interesting deal.
Well, and my wife and I never sell. We're gonna dead end all of our wealth into what's called a CRT, a charitable remainder trust. So all of our money will go back to charity. Right. Ashes to ashes, cash to charity. We're not going to spend it. We got too much of it. Yeah, so charities will get it all, and that's how the tax law is set up. The book is called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. If you really want to understand,
Definitely, yeah, I definitely
you
wrote
want to
that
understand
down.
capitalism, that's the book.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the audiobook hopefully right after it.
Yeah.
Okay, so knowing your market, finding the good deals in that market, and then as far as on the other side, as far as biggest opportunities that you see coming up, you think real estate you still like, and Bitcoin, silver, and gold.
My biggest mistake was, I talk about playing Monopoly, 4 greenhouses, 1031 into a red hotel. It's the red hotel that's killing me. It's empty. But it's set up that thank God there's PPP and that money coming into it, and we're saving most of the employees. But as long as I stuck with apartment houses, we're okay. And so right now, because of this fight between the Republicans and Democrats and 600 a month or 600, whatever they're doing, and if they don't do that, I'm toast also. But I have millions in gold and silver in Switzerland. Please hear me. Debt is tax-free money. And when I buy real estate, I get amortization, depreciation, amortization, tax-free cash flow. And with that, I buy gold, silver, Bitcoin, and I save that, and I save it outside the U.S.
And then on the note of the silver and gold, is this actual physical metal that's in a safe somewhere? Physical metal in a safe.
It's in Switzerland.
And how liquid is something like that, or do you not care?
48 hours.
48 hours. And there's
I'm trying
to an active exchange that sets the price daily or hourly or by the minute, and whatever that price is, you just agree on it?
Yeah. Huh. My first gold coin I bought in 1973, it was $50. Today I'd sell it for $2,000. I still have that coin.
Yeah.
It's in Switzerland.
Cool. I'll have to take a look at that. Do you like any other cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin, or is that the name of the game for you?
I have a lot of Ethereum. I'm really not an expert on crypto because I'm an old guy, but the reason I bought it was simply because I don't trust the Fed. That's why I wrote fake.
Fake, yeah, that's the premise.
Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. And as I'm saying, who stole my pension is saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. We screwed the police officers, firefighters, and police officers through their pensions. So I understand the monetary system. I'm not smart at anything else, but I understand this whole game. Our wealth is stolen via our money. So that's why the people right now who are saving money, your money is being stolen left, right, and center. But you're taught to save money.
Yeah.
And the idiots are saving money. But just look at what a T-bill is paying today. Nothing. And the Fed eventually has to go to, I think, negative interest rates. Holy mackerel. People are still going to try and save money. So meanwhile, the pension funds who need 8% to break even, they have to go to higher leverage. That means take bigger risk. So what they do is they buy worse assets. That's what I know. That's why I love real estate. I love gold. I love silver. I love Bitcoin, because the more the Fed prints dollars, Bitcoin is doing exactly the opposite. They call it a halving. They print fewer dollars. Mm-hmm. So the Fed is flooding the market this way. Bitcoin is going this way. That makes sense to me because that sets up scarcity, which is why gold and silver are rare. Mm-hmm. They're scarce.
And then what effect do you see that having on real estate if the dollar just goes to whatever you're predicting?
I think we're going into a depression. So in real estate, you're going to have a lot of time.
And to people that hear that and they worry, I think there's going to be an equal amount of opportunity and upside for those that can play the game and find the opportunities. And I did another interview with Kevin Ward, who talked about 5 ways to find business right now during the pandemic. That was really great. So definitely check that out. do you have any thoughts on that as far as how we can continue to grow or find opportunities that you like? Because obviously, like commercial, with everyone going working home more.
I don't think you heard a word I said.
Say that again.
You didn't hear a fucking word I said.
In terms of what?
It's micro. Look, understand what's happening right now. Would I be buying New York City, which was the hottest market of all? What's happening in New York City right now? They're migrating out of there. So we have these great migrations going on. So if I was in New York City right now, there's probably a lot of bargains coming up because the people are migrating out. At the same time, where are they migrating to? Well, my wife's mother just died. So she lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So all of these Northeasterners are funneling into the Southeast. And so my wife just said, well, how much is her mother's house available for? She called this broker. She says, it'll be gone tonight. She said, she got 3 offers that night. It was gone.
So it's moving, and I hear you on the micro, 100%.
Yeah, but does it mean New York's bad? No. Do you know what I mean? You look at what's happening in Seattle and Portland and San Diego. The exodus is going to start pretty soon. LA, that's already started. My friends are getting out of California for one word. It's called taxes. You got Prop 13 and all. So that's why it's micro. I moved out. I told you before we started this whole program, I love San Diego. I used to live in La Jolla. I had to get out of there because they were taxing every penny I made because I'm an entrepreneur and I make worldwide money. And California wanted everything I made.
Yeah.
That's the same reason I left Hawaii. I don't like communists stealing my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's called Robin Hood. They take from the rich and they give to themselves. I don't like that. You like that? Hang out in San Diego, sweetheart. You know, they're going to get your money eventually.
Yeah, and it's getting worse, not better. That's for sure.
And so that's why it's micro. So you know that, but it's also an opportunity for you over me because you know San Diego.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's micro. You have a better chance in real estate than stocks, whereas stocks is global.
Yep. So dig deep and find the opportunities in your market because they are everywhere.
San Diego is a fabulous place to live.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you can find a bargain right now, I'd probably buy it. But I wouldn't have my primary residence there.
True.
Okay. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, Oliver. It's you have to be an entrepreneur, not an employee.
I love it. I love being an entrepreneur. I just have 2 quick questions I want to wrap on. Number one, looking back over, your vast career, what is one thing that you maybe wish you knew sooner that would have gotten you ahead faster, easier?
I really don't have those thoughts. I mean, I always took the hard route. Let me give you an example. Okay, when I came out of school, I went to a very, very good school in New York, the best school in the world to train ship's officers. So when I was graduating in '69, which was a long time ago, my classmates were making $120,000 a year tax-free. The average college graduate doesn't make $120,000 a year today. So back in 1969, when we were 22 years old, I got offered a job for about $85,000. The guys who were making 120, they had to go to Vietnam. But the Vietnam War was still on. So, that saying, let your conscience be your guide. I was draft exempt. And I had 7 uncles, all fought in World War II. And so we fight for America. I'm not a communist, I'm not a coward, and I'm not one of those guys that was draft dodger. So both my brother and I volunteered. He joined the Air Force and went to fight in Thailand, and I joined the Marine Corps. I go fight twice in Vietnam. So I went from making a lot of money to $200 a month as a Marine second lieutenant. It was the best decision I ever made. I crashed 3 times, got court-martialed twice for insubordination, but I grew up the most.
It does seem that way. And it does, your passion about it does come through for sure, what the Marine Corps taught you.
Yeah, I won't put up with this bullshit. I get off the plane at Norton Air Force Base. First thing that hits us are eggs, spit, shit. These hippies are calling us baby killers. and I got my 16 men coming off the plane. So when I see the police in Portland standing there letting these guys throw shit on them, I know what that feels like. And so that's why when I get attacked by the Black Lives Matter people and Antifa and all this, or they attack my friend Trump, I said, who are you guys? What gives, that's a Sixth Amendment, the right to face your accuser.
Yeah.
You know, and what's happened to that? What about the First Amendment called freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly? That's what I fought for. It's gone today, Oliver. It's gone.
Crazy time.
That's what makes me upset. So I won't stop. I'm a Marine. I'm not going to give up on it. But those SOBs that were throwing eggs and shit on us when I came back in 1972, 73, you know, they became college professors.
And that's the type of thing that stays with you forever.
It made me stronger.
Yeah.
Vietnam made me stronger. You know, I didn't like what we did, but we did what we did. I have a question to ask people, you know, because I studied economics in military school. The economics taught in military school is different than economics taught in traditional schools. Who has killed the most people in the last 100 years? Socialists or capitalists?
Probably socialists, because they're probably dictators.
No, they're socialists. Nazi is National Socialist Party. USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. China is the People's Republic of China. So Stalin killed 26 million people. Hitler killed 18 million, 6 million Jews. Mao Zedong killed 46 million people. And what Americans fought for was to fight against that. That's what we were taught. So I went to war as my 7 uncles did. 2 were captured by the Japanese. You know, we fight against that oppression. And our school systems are now filled with socialists. Take from the rich, give to the poor. And that's what I hate to say the battle is stronger now in America than ever before. So they're Marxists. You know, Marx, this is how Marx saw it. He says you take an agrarian society like China, and so you had Mao, and then you bring in a capitalist. That was Deng Xiaoping. And that's why he said, to get rich is glorious. That was Deng. And now you have Xi. Xi is now totalitarian. He's now president for life. So he's the new Mao. So that's why they're killing the Uyghurs and all those people in Hong Kong and all that. They're being hauled off to concentration camps and killed. Socialists are the most dangerous people on earth. And that's Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi and all that. That's what they stand for. But they don't know it because they studied economics in college, not in military school. We were taught as military officers to look at where war was going to break out. So you look at what's happening in China today. It won't be long before it was possible China may invade Taiwan. Then we're at war. That's how close we are. I don't mean to be a pessimist, but I also want to be prepared in case something happens. So I've been a student of this most of my life. Yeah. It all started when I was 9 years old. And I asked my school teacher, I said, when will I learn about money? I was in the 4th grade. She says, we don't teach money in school. And I thought that was really strange. So that's why I went to meet my rich dad, because I needed to learn from the capitalist. And my poor dad was a hardcore socialist, Democrat. He says money is the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, it's interesting how you've seen both sides of the spectrum very up close.
Thank you. You got it.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, we kind of walk our path, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're always going to do well because you have an open mind. You're already an entrepreneur. You're already thinking independently. But if you had a job and you had 4 kids and you're afraid of losing your job, you'd be in a different mindset today. And you're gonna see more opportunity in the next few years than you've ever seen in your whole life.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Don't you know it? There's
Yeah.
more opportunity coming your way than you've ever seen before.
Yeah, I do believe that, and I do believe that the old adage is true that the biggest fortunes are made during down times, and that there's countless stories of people that have created a lot of wealth, completely changed their life during the worst of times. So regardless of what happens, it doesn't have to be a bad thing for you if you can use your brain, think like an entrepreneur, make smart investments, stay on top of your game.
Yeah, and you're a teacher.
Mm.
You see, that's how you learn the most is when you teach.
Mm.
I just said again, as one of my teachers, I mean, he passed away about 10 years ago, but he said he was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange when all these people were throwing up their hands, and he was sweeping up these pieces of paper. And he said, hey, what's this Benguet mine in the Philippines?
Mm.
And he was a multimillionaire before he was 20.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you're cruising for, Oliver. That's what you're cruising for.
There it is. So I just have I have one more question. This is kind of a question I like to ask everybody. I like to end with this. I think I have an idea of what you might say already, but I'm curious. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old son, and if you were coaching them on how to be successful in life, what would you tell them?
That's really my wife and I never had kids because she had one kid, that was me. But I think I don't think there's anything more important than taking responsibility for their attitude on life. You know, like my friends, the baby boom generation went, Vietnam War split us, just like it's splitting us now. And my friends who were throwing the eggs at me and shit on me, they raise their kids differently. That's all I want to say. And my classmates who were throwing the eggs and all that stuff on top of us, their kids are different. Just like I said about Chelsea Clinton and Hunter Biden, they're different than Don Jr. and Eric Trump Jr. You should go to Rich Dad Radio, look up the interview with Eric Trump Jr. They were raised as entrepreneurs. Mm. And Hunter Biden and Chelsea Clinton were thieves.
So raise some entrepreneurs, raise good people.
Well, you can't force a kid.
Raise that
attitude.
Yeah, attitude. I love raising them to take responsibility for themselves and their own actions. I think that's critical. I also love your thoughts on school and just retraining yourself and everything you're saying with just investing, learning markets, diversifying into things that are not dollar related, and just kind of hedging and using real estate to really leverage yourself, your money, your time, and use that to build wealth.
Well, you look at San Diego. It's probably the greatest place on earth to live. I used to live there.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stand the taxi.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, Robert, I really, really appreciate you coming on today. Got a lot of great feedback in the group. If you have anything that you'd like to throw out there, I know that they can all play cash flow on your website, which I think is an awesome game to get people thinking the right way. Highly recommend both the new books and every book that, for that matter, that you've written. Anything else that you want to say before we close out?
It's the reason I created the cash flow board game, which is here, was so that you could teach capitalism. And the thing that I found, which was the reason I acknowledge you for what you're doing, is the more I taught, the smarter I got. There seems to be some divine, I'm not really religious, but the more you give, the more you receive. Mm. And I've had people teach that cash flow game to make money. And I've other people teach the game to teach.
Right.
And they're both teaching, but I've always taught to give, and some people teach to take. Mm. And most academics only teach for the paycheck. I grew up with them. If you took their paychecks away, they wouldn't know what to do.
Big difference.
Yeah. Very big. Good people, but they're educated differently. That's the power of education.
Yeah, exactly. And couldn't recommend the board game more. I haven't tried it digitally yet, so I think that's a cool idea. There's a couple clubs here in town that play it. They get together and play it. I don't know how they're doing that now, but very cool. Highly recommend it, and really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you. I think the board game is better than digital. You know why? Because this is the real game sheet. It's called a financial statement.
Yeah.
You got to do it by hand.
Yeah, you got to touch it.
And that's how I had to learn to do the numbers, is by hand. And it locks it in. That's like trying to learn golf by playing a video game. You don't quite get it. You got to do it by hand.
You got to touch it.
You got to play that ball.
Right.
Anyway, the guy I like to acknowledge is Tiger Woods. That guy went from the highest of high to the lowest of low, and he came back and he took the Masters again.
Yeah.
That's spirit.
It is a crazy story for sure.
He was the best.
Yeah.
The best athlete I've ever seen.
Very cool. Well, thanks again. Really appreciate it. Don't want to take up too much more of your time, and hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime soon. If you guys have any questions,
have a good time in San Diego. It's a great place to live. The market is about to come your way.
I'll get back to enjoying the beach and the sun.
Yeah, it's the best place on earth. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Robert. See ya.
Thank you.